Now, the Ministry of Health, together with partners, began the fumigation exercise of all academic institutions ahead of the reopening of examination classes of the upper basic school system across the country. Facilities at the University of the Gambia were among those targeted for the disinfection activity on Thursday as the academic institutions brace up for the end of semester examinations next week. Here's more details of that in this report.
As schools in the Gambia gear up for the continuation of the 2020 academic year, the Ministry of Health and the Gambia Red Cross Society have deployed teams to fumigate all learning institutions, starting with those in the Greater Banjul areas on Thursday. The decision to reopen schools came following government's decision to ease COVID-19 restrictions to allow the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education to recall teachers and students back to the classroom. The primary target has to deal with those in the transitional classes in the upper basic school, whose trial will determine the reopening of the rest of the academic streams across the country. The Gambia Red Cross Society began the fumigation exercise with the University of the Gambia ahead of the scheduled end of semester examination next week. Ibrahim S. Jiba described that disinfection activity as routine in areas hit by the outbreak of the disease.
But our comment here already have linkage with the University of the Gambia. So that one we are doing the Brikama campus and also the MDI campus here. So, but as you know, they are trying to maximize the interaction of students or to minimize the interaction of students. So they are doing social distancing examination, whereby students will be distancing one another. So on that note, so they may not, this place may not be sufficient. The law faculty and MDI is not sufficient for their students. Now they included those comprehensive, which will be used also for their examination. So we fumigate that place also, so that they can occupy the spaces for their examination. We are using a chemical called chlorine. So chlorine-based chemical is been used as the disinfectant since during the outbreak of Ebola and also during any other outbreak that you know, because it is highly recommended by WHO and CDC that it is effective if you use it on surfaces whereby you think it's contaminated, or the places which are contaminated, it can decontaminate the place. So this is why we are using the chlorine-based to disinfect the grounds.
The outbreak of the COVID-19 global pandemic led to the abandonment of educational institutions across the country, leading to security concerns in certain areas, as attested by Aidan Jai, Director of Region 4 Education Directorate.
When this state of emergency was declared, our school head, I don't know about other regions, but in Region 4, what we realized was that most of these principals and head teachers just abandoned their schools. And we had reported cases of theft, we had reported cases of damaged property, damaged school fence and, neglected gardens, all that. So when we went down, we saw that some schools, most of these schools were neglected. They were not being taken care of. Although there is water in some schools, but then schools were neglected and we needed to do something.
With the easing of restrictions, the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education mobilized efforts in consideration of the safety of students and teachers ahead of the reopening of schools. Director of Health Education and Promotion at the Ministry of Health, Modun Jai, informed MOPSI during a stakeholder meeting on Tuesday that mass screening will be required for students and teachers once the classrooms are reopened.
Also consider, are we also able to screen all students and children that and staff that come to the school on a regular basis? If we are able to do that, then we can also open. These are some of the questions that have also been raised. And the other thing is about, are there recommended health and safety actions in place in school, like hand washing facilities? You talk about, somebody talk about the sanitizers. Perhaps sanitizers might be expensive, but having a hand washing facility like a tank with water supply in a water facility, water inside, plus some detergent inside it, I think that will be more costly because we are dealing with large numbers of children at school. So we can also think about that. Let's think of applying and use cost-effective and sustainable interventions that will also help us to move the agenda forward. That's also very important. We also need to think about that.
The move to fumigate learning facilities and other mechanism is in compliance with guidelines from health authorities expected to convince parents to allow their children back to school. For iAfrica News, I am Juldenjai Suare.